Hey everyone! Welcome back to our weekly roundup on all things tech and AI. I'm Sam, your main host, and I'm really excited to jump into some fascinating stories from the past week. We've got a mix of controversies and innovations to cover today, like that whole situation with the Olympics broadcast and some wild AI-related scams that are making headlines. So let's get started. Nate, what do you think about leading with the Olympics drama? It feels like a hot topic right now.
Absolutely, Sam. I'm totally on board with that. Hey folks, it's Nate here. And yeah, the Olympic stuff is pretty eye-opening. I mean, who knew broadcasting could stir up so much fuss? We're going to break it down without getting too bogged down in speculation, just sticking to what actually happened. So let's dive in. I'm curious to hear your take on how this plays out in the bigger picture of media and tech.
All right, so first up, let's talk about this Olympics incident that's got everyone talking. From what I saw on Reddit, NBC apparently edited out the crowd's booing during JD Vance's appearance at the Winter Olympics broadcast. You know, it's one of those stories where the details are straightforward. According to sources, a video of the event got blocked on X, probably due to copyright issues, and then NBC went ahead and cut that part from their coverage. It really highlights how media companies handle live events, and I was going to say it's frustrating because it raises questions about transparency, but we'll keep it factual here. What do you think, Nate? Does this make you question how much we can trust what's shown on TV?
Oh man, that's a good point, Sam. It definitely does make me pause and think about the editing process. Wait, hold on. Let me rephrase that. So basically with NBC cutting out the booing, it's like they're controlling the narrative, which isn't entirely surprising given how broadcasts work, but it's still wild to see it play out. I mean, the Reddit posts from sources like Our Technology are just reporting the facts, so we know this happened, and it makes me wonder how often similar edits go unnoticed. That's actually concerning, because if media outlets can alter content like this, it might affect public perception in subtle ways, not that we're tying it to anything else, just observing the situation.
Exactly. And speaking of which, the other angle is that video from the Olympics being blocked on X due to copyright claims, as mentioned in another Reddit thread. It's not just about NBC, it's also about how platforms enforce these rules, which can silence certain voices pretty quickly. I remember reading that post, and it struck me as a reminder of how tech and media intersect in ways that aren't always fair. Anyway, moving on from there, I think this story shows why we need to pay attention to these details. It could influence how we consume news going forward. Nate, have you ever noticed something like this in your own viewing experiences?
Yeah, I have, Sam. Like, I was watching a sports event last month and swore I heard something edited out, but that's probably just me being paranoid. What makes this even more interesting is how it ties into broader platform policies, though we're not speculating beyond the sources. So, to build on what you said, these incidents remind us that even in 2024, content control is a big deal in tech. Alright, let's not dwell too long. I'm excited to move to our next story because it's a doozy involving AI and some unfortunate real-world consequences.
Okay, shifting gears, let's get into this heartbreaking story about an 82-year-old grandmother who lost her $200,000 retirement savings in an AI deepfake scam. From the Reddit post, it sounds like scammers used AI to create a fake doctor or something similar to trick her, which is just awful when you think about it. The details are pretty straightforward. She was duped into transferring her money based on this deepfake, and it's a stark example of how accessible AI tools can be misused. I mean, this isn't some sci-fi plot, it's happening now, and it's scary because it shows the vulnerabilities in our digital world. Nate, what goes through your mind when you hear about stuff like this? It makes me want to double check all my own online interactions.
That's genuinely terrifying, Sam. I can't even imagine the impact on someone who spent their life saving that money. Wait, no, that's not quite right. Let me clarify. The source just reports the scam, so we're not adding any extra layers, but it's clear from the post that AI deepfakes are being weaponized for fraud. This story really drives home how quickly technology can outpace our ability to protect ourselves, and I think it's a wake-up call for everyone to be more vigilant. You know, it reminds me of how we've talked about AI's dual edges before, like how it's amazing for creativity but can lead to these nightmare scenarios. So, in depth, what do you think could be done to prevent more of these cases?
Good question, Nate. And while the sources don't offer solutions, it's worth discussing based on what's reported. From what we know, this scam involves sophisticated deepfakes, so perhaps better education on spotting fakes could help, but that's just my take. Anyway, diving deeper, the fact that an 82-year-old was targeted highlights how these scams prey on vulnerable people, and it's not isolated. We've seen similar cases pop up. I was going to say it ties into AI ethics, but let's stick to the facts. This is purely about the misuse we've seen overall. It's a story that underscores the need for awareness. Don't you agree?
I totally agree, Sam. And to add to that, it's stories like this that make me appreciate the tech advancements while being cautious. So, yeah, moving on from the heavy stuff, let's talk about something a bit lighter but still impactful. That AI startup founders plan for a march for billionaires in protest of California's wealth tax. From the Reddit thread, it's all about this founder organizing a march against the new tax, which he sees as unfair to the rich. It's interesting because it's a direct response to policy changes and it shows how AI folks are getting involved in politics. That makes me chuckle a little, honestly, but in a thoughtful way. Like, is this the start of more tech protests?
Well, not but that's actually pretty entertaining, Nate. I mean, the idea of a march for billionaires sounds like something out of a satire, but according to the source, it's real. So to break it down, the founder is protesting California's wealth tax, arguing it's detrimental to innovation in AI and tech. We're not speculating on outcomes, but it's fascinating how this reflects tensions between tech leaders and government policies. It reminds me of how AI is not just about code, it's intertwined with real-world issues like taxes and wealth distribution. What do you make of this, Nate? Do you think it could gain traction?
That's a solid question, Sam, and from what we've read, it's early stages, so who knows? But yeah, it highlights how AI entrepreneurs are pushing back against regulations, which could influence future laws if it picks up steam. I was gonna say, it might even inspire similar actions elsewhere, but let's keep it to the facts. The source just reports the plan, so we're discussing the potential without overreaching.
Overall, it's a quirky story that shows the human side of tech, and I find it intriguing how these protests could shape the industry. Okay, we've covered a lot, so let's wrap this up neatly.
Absolutely, Nate. And just to recap quickly, we talked about the Olympics broadcast edits, the AI deepfake scam that's so alarming, and this march for billionaires as a fun yet serious tech protest. Each of these stories gives us a glimpse into the evolving world of tech and AI, from media manipulation to real scams and policy fights. I appreciate you bouncing ideas off me today. It's always a great chat. Thanks to everyone listening. Make sure to check back next week for more.
Yeah, Sam, it was a blast as always, and folks, remember to stay informed and cautious out there. We've only scratched the surface, but that's the beauty of these roundups. Until next time, keep those tech discussions going. Take care.
One more thing before we sign off. If you have thoughts on any of these stories, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. All right, that's a wrap for this episode.
Exactly, Sam. Looking forward to it. Bye for now.
See you next week, everyone. Stay curious.
And stay safe with your tech.